Welcome to Cafe Snacks. From today onwards, it will be the most wanted news articles that is related to current happenings for UPSC, SSC, and other state administrative examinations. This is due to the time constraint that we are facing. It is online, and this is Shyam here. Let us move on to the first discussion. Now, there is a particular news article in Hindu regarding the digital divide that has shadowed the post pandemic education. Now, as part of the syllabus in prelims, it comes in GS paper 1, economy, and mains, it is part of GS paper 3, that also in economy. Now, the backdrop of this particular issue is regarding the NSS 75th round survey on household social consumption regarding education. Now, first and foremost, what is household consumer expenditure survey? Now, the National Statistical Office, under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, carried out an all India survey on household consumption expenditure in 75th round between the period July 2017 to June 2018. Now, what is the round? Now, regarding round, you need to understand that the National Statistical Office conducts surveys, and these surveys are categorized in the form of rounds. Now, for example, the 75th round is dealing with information and statistics regarding household social consumption and the important part of household social consumption with respect to education. So, this is the 75th round. The consumer expenditure survey is usually conducted at once in 5 years, and the last survey was conducted in the 68th round, that is between July 2011 to June 2012. Now, the NSS consumer expenditure survey, it generates estimates of household monthly per capita consumer expenditure and also how it is distributed in the household and how the people are influenced by it. Let us understand the background of this particular survey. The first All India survey on social consumption was conducted by National Sample Survey Office in the 35th round. Now, National Sample Survey Office is no more. National Sample Survey Office along with the Central Statistics Office was merged to form the National Statistical Office. Now, the first survey and its information is laid down before you. And what was the main objective of this particular survey? The main objective of the survey was essentially to make an assessment of the benefits that was derived by various sections of the society from the public expenditures that the government has incurred to develop health services, educational services, public distribution systems, etc. And also, subsequently, the subject of social consumption was also covered in the 42nd round, that is in between the periods of July 1986 to June 1987, and also in the 52nd round, in the 64th round, and also in the 71st round of NSSO survey. Now, the objective of the 75th round of survey need to be discussed. The main objective of NSS 75th round survey on household social consumption education was to build indicators, and it was to build indicators on the participation of the persons of age group between 3 to 35 years in the education system, and also the expenditure that is incurred on education of household members and various other indicators of those people who are currently not attending education. And also, besides, for persons of age 5 years and above, information was collected on ability of these people to use internet, to operate computer, and also their use of internet during the last 30 days. These things were the main indicators or the features of the particular survey. Now, the survey is both qualitative and quantitative in nature. What do you mean by qualitative? The qualitative aspects includes literacy, educational level attained, type of institutions they have gone, the nature of the institution, the current attendance or enrollment, free education, reason for never enrolled or ever enrolled but currently not attending, etc. What about the quantitative aspects? The quantitative information was collected on expenditure that is incurred on education by the household members. Now, you need to understand about the main features of the survey, and through main features, which are the broad coverage of information that is collected through this household social consumption survey. Now, first and foremost, household characteristics including whether the household has a computer and also regarding the internet facility are collected. Then the demographic particulars of the household members including their highest level of education completed and status of enrollment, etc. are also taken care. Additionally, information relating to ability to operate computer, ability to use internet and use of internet by persons of age 5 years and above are also collected. Now there is also an indicator regarding the level of current enrollment in basic course for persons of age 3 to 35 years. And education particulars on basic course of the persons of age 3 to 35 years who are currently attending education are also taken care. Now there are also particulars of expenditure on education of people between the age of 3 to 35 years and also particulars of currently people who are not attending of the age group 3 to 35 years. Vocational training, technical training aspects are also taken care, and the details of previous household members of age 3 to 35 years who are currently attending education are also taken care of. Now what are the indicators of this particular survey? The indicators include household and population indicators, literacy and status of education, vocational training is included, indicators relating to enrollment and attendance, indicators relating to free education, expenditure on education is considered, dropout rate is considered, reason for currently not attending, and those people who are enrolled and never enrolled are taken care of. Erstwhile members of age 3 to 35 years of the household currently attending education, and also information regarding information and communications technology, that is ICT, is also taken as an indicator. Now, what are the important findings of this particular survey of NSO? The literacy rate among in the age group of 7 years and above was recorded at 77.7% during July 2017 to June 2018 in the country. That is being shown by the NSO survey. Now, let us delve deep inside. The study further showed that, look at the first paragraph, that among the persons in the age group of 15 and above, only 30.6% had completed secondary or above level of education in villages. And in urban areas, it was 57.5%. So, the situation of urban areas are much better in cases of secondary level of education and above. Now, what about graduation and above level of education? Nearly 10.6% of the persons of age 15 years and above in India had completed graduation and above level of education. This rate was just 5.7% in villages and 21.7% in the cities. Now, also, you need to look into the enrollment rate. Among persons of age 3 to 35 years, 13.6% never enrolled and 42.5% ever enrolled but currently not attending, while 43.9% were currently attending. Now, in rural areas, what is the rate of attendance? In rural areas, 15.7% never enrolled, 40.7% ever enrolled but currently not attending, while 43.5% were currently attending. In cities, the rate is 8.3% never enrolled, 46.9% ever enrolled but currently not attending, and 44.8% were currently attending. Now, what about the male and female population? The situation of males is that 11% never enrolled, whereas in case of females, it is 16.6% that has never enrolled. And what about the usage of internet, computer operability, etc.? What about the usage of information and communication technology? The study shows that nearly 4.4% of rural families and 23.4% in the cities had computer. 14.9% of rural household and 42% of urban household had internet facility. In rural areas, among persons of age 5 years and above, 9.9% were able to operate a computer and 13% were able to use internet and 10.8% used internet during last 30 days. In case of urban areas, among persons of age 5 years and above, 32.4% were able to operate a computer, 37.1% were able to use internet, and 33.8% used internet during the last 30 days. So these are the informations which we get from the survey. And the news article discuss a lot about the economic divide during the pandemic stage. So do read the news article. Here all the information that is being collected is from the government websites and other news articles other than Hindu. So that's all. Let us move on to the next discussion. So there is this particular news article on page 6 titled A Case for Down-to-Earth Governance in Hindu. Now the syllabus under mains is GS2 section of the syllabus, that is governance, and the topic of discussion include local governance, democracy, and reformation in democratic institutions. Now, you need to understand a brief history of local governance in India. Traditionally, there were lots of forms of local governance in India, but post-independence period saw a shift towards building a system of local government. This was mainly because of the ideological influence of Mahatma Gandhi. Now, the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments made it practical, and it made it mandatory for each state to constitute rural and urban local governments, to establish mechanisms to fund them, and also to carry out local elections every 5 years. Now, the creation of this new three-tier system of local governance provided constitutional status to rural and local urban bodies. And also you need to understand that the provisions of these two amendments are similar in many ways, but the 73rd is applied to rural local government, also known as Panchayat Raj institutions or PRIs, while the later, that is the 74th amendment, is applied to urban local bodies. Now why? What is the need and what are the objectives? Now the objective or the need was to create local institutions that were democratic, autonomous, financially strong, and capable of formulating and implementing plans for their respective areas, and also to provide or make sure a decentralized administration to the people so that the people can have a say in their local problems. Now let us look into the structure of governance. First, there is our central government. Then the central government, there is a quasi-federal structure where there are state governments in India. Then there is district councils or Sila Parishad. With regarding to rural areas, under the Sila Parishad, there can be blocks or block council or Panchayat Samadhis. And under Panchayat Samadhis, there can be village council or Gram Panchayats. Then under Gram Panchayats, there is village assembly or Gram Sabha. In case of urban areas, under the Sila Parishad, depending on the population of the people, it can be municipal corporations if the population is above 1 million. It can be municipalities if the population is less than 1 million. And for those places which is transitioning from rural to urban areas, it can be town councils. What about the extension across India? The structure of Panchayat Raj institutions is uniform across all states in country, but there is an exception in scheduled and tribal areas. These areas, there is legal exemption from implementing the Panchayat Raj system. But you need to understand that under PESA Act of 1996, that is Panchayat extension to scheduled areas, it provides for extension of the 73rd amendment. It provides for the extension of 73rd amendment with certain modification and exceptions to tribal and forested areas that are across 10 states of India. But it is excluded from the state of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. So that's the case. And you need to understand that these policies and the framework institutions of local governance is governed by district or regional councils. These provisions have been put in place to protect customary law, social and religious practices, and traditional management practices of community resources. Now, the local government institutions are made up of both directly and indirectly elected representatives. There is a one-third representation for women on a rotational basis. Now, what are the functions of local government? In line with their objectives of promoting local economic development and social justice, local government bodies have the power, they have the function or the power to prepare development plans for the areas they serve. And also, they also implement a wide range of schemes relating to 29 core areas for rural local governments and 18 for urban local bodies. Now, they faces two types of challenges, that is functional challenges and financial challenges. What are functional challenges? The power to devolve functions to local governments rests with the state government, but they do not do that often. The states do not devolve adequate functions to the local government bodies, so they suffer from inefficiency and ineffectiveness. And what are financial challenges? Most local bodies, both rural and urban, are unable to generate adequate funds from their internal sources. Internal sources are their common sources of funding. That means they will collect their own taxes within their legal framework. And there is external sources. What are external sources? That is obtained from state governments and central government loans or grants. So external source revenue is something that keeps them moving, but only if the central government and state government are providing them adequate fundings, they can be effective. So that's all for this particular topic. Let us move on to the next topic. There is a particular news article titled Demonization of Dissent in page 7 of Hindu. The syllabus is part of mains as GS paper 2, Polity and Governance. The topic is regarding preventive detention. Now, under section 151 of the Criminal Procedure Code 1973, preventive detention is action taken on grounds of suspicion that some wrong actions may be done by the person concerned. A police officer can arrest an individual without orders from a magistrate and without any warrant if he gets any information that such an individual can commit any offense. Now, Article 22 of Indian Constitution provides protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. So, we need to discuss about Article 22 and what does it say about preventive detention. Now, preventive detention is all about speculation. Now, Article 22, 1 and 22, Clause 2 has the below provisions. Now, well, a person cannot be arrested and also detained without being informed why he is being arrested. That is a provision of Article 22. And also, however, a person who is arrested cannot be denied to be defended by the legal practitioner of his choice. So, he will get a legal help. And also, well, every person who has been arrested will be produced before the nearest magistrate within the 24 hours. He need to be produced before the nearest magistrate within the time period of 24 hours. The custody of detained persons cannot be beyond the said period except by the authority of magistrate. Now, what does Clause 3 of Article 22 say? It says that the above safeguards are not available to the following if first one, if the person is at the time being an enemy alien, and also if the person is arrested under certain law which is made for the purpose of preventive detention. So, all these safeguards will never be available for a person who is arrested under preventive detention. So, these are the respective safeguards that Article 22 provides for a person who is being arrested. That is the right to be informed of the grounds of arrest, the right to consult and to be defended by legal practitioner, the right to be produced before a magistrate within 24 hours, excluding the journey of time, and the right to be released after 24 hours unless the magistrate authorizes further detention. So these safeguards are not available to enemy alien, or a person arrested or to be detained under a preventive detention law. So under preventive detention law, these safeguards are not available to a person. So that's all for the respective articles understanding. Let us move on to the next article. Now let us discuss a news article in Hindu regarding the non-alignment movement. The news article is titled "What is in a NAM and India's alignment?" The syllabus as part of mains, it is under GS paper 2, International Relations, Organizations and Ties with Groups. The topic is non-aligned movement. The non-aligned movement and its history is very important. So let us discuss about its history. The non-aligned movement was created and founded during the collapse of the colonial system and the independent struggles of the peoples of Africa, Asia, Latin America and other regions of the world, and at the height of the Cold War. So during Cold War, there were two blocks. The world was politically divided into two blocks, that is the US bloc and the USSR bloc. So Asian nations and African nations, they were on the verge of their independence, and after receiving their independence and after the process of decolonization, they were struggling to find their norm in the present world politics. So that is the reason why they decided to form a particular movement rather than a bureaucratic organization. Now, while some meetings with a third world perspective were held before 1955, it was the Bandung Asian African Conference that is the most immediate antecedent to the creation of non-aligned movement. Now, in 1960, in the light of the results achieved in Bandung, the creation of the movement of non-aligned countries was given a decisive boost in the 15th Ordinary Session of the United Nations General Assembly, and during which there were 70 new African and Asian countries. Now, the key role were played by four leaders. Who are them? It was Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Sri Jawaharlal Nehru of India, Ahmad Sukarno of Indonesia, and Joseph Broz Tito of Yugoslavia. Now, Joseph Broz Tito of Yugoslavia, Jawaharlal Nehru, Abdel Nasser, and Ahmad Sukarno of Indonesia is considered as the four great leaders, and sometimes Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana is also included. Now, 6 years after Bandung, the movement of non-aligned countries was founded on a wider geographical basis at the first summit conference that was held in Belgrade, and it was on September 1 to 6 in 1961. The conference was attended by 25 countries. Now, which were these countries? It was Afghanistan, Algeria, Yemen, Myanmar, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Congo, Cuba, Cyprus, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Guinea, India, Indonesia, Iraq, Lebanon, Mali, Morocco, Nepal, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, and Yugoslavia. These names need to be understood, and during the prelims, if such a question arises regarding the members, you should be able to recognize it rather than memorize it. And you also need to understand about the objectives of NAM. The primary objectives of the non-aligned countries was focused on the support of self-determination and national independence, sovereignty, territorial integrity of the states, opposition to apartheid. It was also considered or concerned to be a part of non-adherence to multilateral military pacts and the independence of non-aligned countries from the great power or bloc influences and rivalries. So basically, they were not part of either the USSR bloc or the US bloc. Now, the struggle against imperialism in all its forms and manifestation was their ideal. The struggle against colonialism, neo-colonialism, racism, foreign occupation, domination, and disarmament was also. Now, decolonialization was an important aspect of now. Non-interference into the internal affairs of states was also their important agenda, and the peaceful coexistence among all nations. Rejection of the use or threat of use of force in international relations. They never used force. And also, strengthening of the United Nations was their other objective. They were also concerned with socio-economic development and restructuring of the international economic system as well as international cooperation on an equal footing. Now, what were the problems and the challenges that they faced and still facing? Now, the current challenges facing the NAM include the necessity of protecting the principles of international law, eliminating weapons of mass destruction which they were never able to achieve, combating terrorism, defending human rights, working towards making the United Nations more effective in meeting the needs of all its member states in order to preserve international peace, security, and stability in the region. On the other hand, the long-standing goals of the movement remain to be realized. Now, the peace development, economic cooperation, and democratization of international relations, to mention just a few, are old goals of the non-aligned countries, and these are still underachieved. So that is all about today's news articles. Thank you.